Hey guys, I'm in my. Ooh, I have a zit right here. I don't know what that is. I'm in my cave. Check out my cave. That's the ocean out there. That's the rest of the cave behind me. This is my fucking cave. And that's actually an oxymoron, and it's kind of along the lines of what I'm going to talk about today because I'm talking. What just came to me just a moment ago is a question that I've asked myself several times, and I've even asked my sorcerer Frank White this question. And it's when you're working with spirits, which almost every lineage of every religion does this. You pray to Mother Mary, to Jesus, to Archangel Michael, to John the Beloved, or maybe in other cultures you might, pray to those deities, those spirits, those angels, demons, whoever. Maybe your ancestors, which are just spirits of the dead. And there's a ranking, there's a hierarchy of all these things, but basically what it comes down to is a frequency. You're tuning into a frequency of the universe. And when you go to the highest source, let's say the source of all sources, that frequency is very plain. It's like a white canvas. And knowledge does not actually emanate from source. Knowledge emanates from the interaction of your frequency with the frequency of source. There's an old story, I won't get into it right now, of the churning between the dark forces and the forces of light in the cosmos. And in that battle comes the poison of consciousness and the nectar of consciousness. So like working with yourself, you have your own demons, you have your own good qualities about you. And in meditation, you fight these things are fighting. You're not fighting them, but they fight each other. Your attention's being drawn towards vices, the dark side, or the taboo aspects of your mind, and the light side. Aspiring for good qualities, for goodness, for alignment with the culture and your family and your friends and higher aspirations, or whatever you consider. And it's somewhat subjective. But in that battle, the lessons come. In that battle comes the realizations of maybe your own limitations or your own drawbacks. So those are the poisons, and the nectar is how to handle that. And that comes from the meditation. And so you are a frequency that is changing throughout your life. The frequency of your personality, you know that all emotions are, it's different frequencies. When you're angry, you feel a frequency. When you're happy, you feel a different frequency. All these emotions, they all have unique frequencies, just like a color has a unique frequency band. And that's changing throughout your life. And the difference between you, spirits of the dead, and angels, demons, and gods, deities, and the source is those are constant frequencies. The frequency of Hanuman, the vigorous, relentless, enthusiastic Hanuman, a deity in Hindu culture, the frequency of Archangel Michael, the frequency of Lucifer, the frequency of the highest god, Ishvara, the source of all sources, anything, frequency of Christ, the Christos. These are constant frequencies. They're like 94.5 on your radio. It's always 94.5. But you're the dial. You can change frequencies from low to high. You can choose, and in some cases you're just an effect of the environment. Other people are tuning your frequencies. The news is changing your frequency. The weather is changing your frequency. What day of the week? Is it a holiday? The culture is changing your frequency. Literally, someone else came and said December 25th is Christmas, and your frequency changed because someone else commanded it. So in that conflict between your frequency and the frequency of source comes the poisons and the nectar. That's tuning into source. That's the result of source. Whereas these other, you could call them lower frequencies, lower on the hierarchy. If you're working with angels or demons or whatnot, they are also constant frequencies, but they're different from source, and they actually can communicate with you. Okay, so my question, this is 4.5 minutes to get to the question. The question that I posed to Frank, and that just reoccurred in my own practices, is how do you maintain your frequency amidst you're communicating with all these frequencies? It's just the same, the weather, the culture. Like, I don't want to lose myself in this kind of magical realm of communicating with spirits. Well, here's the deal. You're going to. You're going to, because the quality that is very important, I won't say it's most essential, but it's very, very important, is your ability to surrender. You have to surrender. You must surrender to what's happening in the mind. You must surrender to what you're feeling. You must surrender to the messages that are coming through, and to your authentic questions that are coming out. In that surrender, your frequency changes. And this is why it's important not to binge too fast on any new practice that you have. You do a little bit. It's kind of like my dad used to teach me. He was a survivalist. He was an Army Ranger. And I was a Boy Scout growing up, but that's nothing compared to like an Army Ranger. And he's like, when you're in a new environment and you're lost and you're really hungry and you think this plant is edible, you nibble just a little bit. I'm probably screwing up his advice precisely, but it was like you take a little bit and then you wait some hours and you make sure you don't get sick. And then maybe you have some more. And then after some time, if you're confident it's not having any negative effect, then you can eat, you know? So when you're doing a new practice, it's important not to jump in 3 hours a day, because then you'll lose yourself irrevocably and you won't be able to find yourself again. The point is not to not lose yourself. The point is to always be able to tune into where you're at. So you're working with spirits, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're just meditating, but you can lose yourself in meditation. You're connecting to source. You know, that is a plain white canvas. You yourself can become a plain white canvas, which is just kind of boring and dull. Or maybe you're talking with ancestors or just whatever, the teachers in your mind. You're going to change. And surrender to that process. That is the process of evolution, because by the very nature of you being a human, your frequency changes. I should hope so. I had different dreams and aspirations when I was 5 years old and 15 and 25, and now I'm 30. My frequency when I was 21 years old, as a wrestler, and I was getting into drugs and partying, and it's very different from when I was 13 and playing video games and had a lot of issues of life just hadn't entered my mind, to just a year ago when it's like, I'm going to be a yoga teacher full time and explore consciousness and what can I do with my own mind to bring more ease and contentment, and naturally I want to share what I discover. It's a very different frequency from those other two I explained. And obviously when I'm born, I'm a different frequency. Largely in the early part of life, you're just an imprint, an imitation of your parents' frequencies. The process of individuation is a demonstration of your changing frequency. So your frequency is going to change as you interact with the spirits or your own mind or just culture. Allow your frequency to change, and then daily have a practice that allows you to tune back into whatever your frequency is that day. And if it's in a direction you don't want it to go, then change the practice or analyze, what did I do that day? That's the science of it. That's why yoga is a science, not just an art. It's an art in that you create your rituals. It's a science in that you apply the scientific method. Reproducibility, investigation, hypotheses, and there are some aspects of scientific method you might not do unless you're super scientific. Regimented logging, which I do because I'm a doctor of science. So that's probably enough for today, and I'll give you one last look at my cave. Yeah, it's brilliant. Ocean out there. It's highly drone sounding, so it keeps me going. There's the back of the cave. I think there's a little crack on the way out. It's kind of scary, actually, because it's like, could these rocks collapse at any moment? This might be the last video you ever see of me if these rocks collapse. But they won't. Anyway, peace, namaste, ninth one. And silent flute now, so silent flute.